Good evening, friends, and welcome to a TV84 special with us. When we think about social media, when we talk about how to expand our business, how to connect with our friends, how to connect with people in the professional world, there are many different things we think about. When we think social media, we're thinking Facebook, we're thinking LinkedIn, we're thinking Twitter, Instagram. There are too many things out there that we think about. We don't know which is the right avenue for what we want to do. So sometimes we think, you know what, if I want to grow in my business, hey, everyone is on the Facebook, that might be the best thing for me. Everyone is tweeting, that might be the best thing for me. Or everyone who's only working is on LinkedIn, so maybe I'm restricting myself. But you know what, we have to figure out what we want to do when we talk about growing in the social media arena. And lots of changes are happening with the recent merger where LinkedIn was merged with Microsoft. That itself is going to become a big game changer for people that use LinkedIn. LinkedIn, as you all know, is very big in the professional world, and it's not only just used by people that want to network, people that want to grow their business, even politicians, students, kids that are coming out of college are relying on LinkedIn to go further in life. So with that, we will talk about what LinkedIn is all about, what the new merger means for us as users. So with that, we have our guest with us today, Mr. Marc Halpert, who's a trainer and an evangelist of LinkedIn. Thank you, Marc, for being here with us today.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. So I know you are independent on your own. You're a trainer, you're an evangelist for LinkedIn. We've interviewed you before. You have wealth of knowledge when it comes to LinkedIn. But you're not employed by LinkedIn. You do this independently on your own.
I do. I learned a long time ago that if I don't advocate for myself, no one will. I had too many Rolodexes on my desk. You remember Rolodexes? Yeah. You put the card in there, and it was stuck in time. Yeah. And I had 3 Rolodexes. The good guy Rolodex, the people that I was in touch with all the time, the people that I sort of lost track with, but still needed their card because I'll forget their name or how to get a hold of them. Of course, everybody's changing all the time. And then the other Rolodex of people that I would never find again, but if I didn't keep their card, I'd forget them completely. And a friend of mine called me and said, you collect people like baseball cards. How do you keep them all straight? And I said, it's getting hard. He said, I found something. I think you'll find it interesting. I was something about the 238,000th person to sign up for LinkedIn. So I've been an early adopter. I started taking a lot of classes in it. When I found that I knew more than the people teaching, or they were answering the questions not completely correctly, I decided this is for me. This is something I could do. And I've sort of always had this desire to impart knowledge. And if I could do that and help people who are amazing become amazinger, which is my term, on an electronic medium, and meet people and grow their business, incremental revenue, grow their stature, all by using their own voice, that would be fun. Yeah. And it has been.
It has been. So I know you have been, you've been writing blogs about LinkedIn. That's how we came across when I read your blog. And you've been with us even as we've brought you in as an expert for LinkedIn many times in the world events that we do, news that we cover. So this is something that you just got in on your own and you taught yourself about LinkedIn. This is something you involved on your own with.
I did. I didn't ever read a book on LinkedIn because every time a book is published on LinkedIn about how to do it, where to put your mouse, how to click here, what that'll do, it's antiquated by the time the book is published. LinkedIn changes so fast. So I began to realize that there were a large number of people who could not talk about themselves. They were either my age or younger, and they were taught, don't sound egotistical, don't talk about yourself. And that created this paralysis inside them to just take their resume and drop it into LinkedIn and not talk about the qualitative things, the subjective things that make them interesting, amazinger than the competition. And as I began to experiment a little bit and read some books that had a real effect on me, Start With Why by Simon Sinek. If you don't talk about why you do what you do, no one's going to say it for you. You're just going to get lost in the traffic.
In the traffic, absolutely.
So it became something that I was challenged with people who couldn't get unstuck. They couldn't get it out of their system. And once I began to pick at it a little bit, I started gushing out. Some people have told me things I really wish I didn't know. we become very good friends at the end of sessions that I do with my clients.
Okay.
Or I'll go into a group, a corporate group, a department in a company, or just a law firm, an accounting firm. And I see all these people who want to talk, but they are a little nervous. They never learned how to do this in MBA school or law school. And they don't know what they can and can't say. We even had lawyers ask me for legal advice about how to cite documentation in LinkedIn. Is this okay? Am I not breaking any copyright rules? Somebody you and I know personally.
Oh, boy.
And I was absolutely stunned with the question. And I decided that there's so much to know.
Yeah.
And the more I give, the better they get. So that's a good feeling.
Oh, great.
And here we are.
Here we are. So you know what? When we talk about LinkedIn, a lot of people think that, you know what, it's another social media platform. They don't understand that, you know what, a lot of people I talk to, they say, when I talk to them about LinkedIn, they're like, well, I have my info on Facebook. They don't understand that Facebook is a different animal. LinkedIn is a very different animal. It just depends, what is it that you're trying to do? Who are you trying to cater to? Facebook, you're catering in a different crowd. LinkedIn, you're going after a different crowd. So tell me, I want people to hear from you, what are the differences in two when we think of Facebook and LinkedIn? How similar or far apart are they?
They really are very far apart. It depends upon who your customer is. If your customer is a consumer, a household consumer, you should be on LinkedIn and Facebook. Talking on Facebook to the consumer, talking on LinkedIn to your suppliers, you're talking about your competitor and your competition to look smarter than the competition. But if you are providing a service to the B2B, the business-to-business community, Facebook is not where you want to be. Now, I have a Facebook page for my business.
Okay.
I went kicking and screaming against my better judgment. It's not robust.
Okay.
I spend my time on Facebook, on LinkedIn.
On LinkedIn.
The thing that makes LinkedIn really different than Facebook is that on LinkedIn, only you can say things and no one else can say anything about you unless you've approved it.
Okay.
Facebook's very different. You have a wall. Anybody can drop on that wall.
Yes.
And some people say some really weird things.
Oh, we know. Oh, we know.
All right. Or I'm an ardent photographer on the weekends. I just love photography of flowers and geography and architecture.
And bagel shops.
Yes.
Which I loved.
Thank you. And I put them up on my Facebook page for my friends to enjoy and for me to memorialize, but I would never put that on LinkedIn.
Okay.
That has no place on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Now, I'm not saying to be single, planed, and boring. I talk about my hobbies and the things I love to do very briefly on LinkedIn, and people connect with me through those things because we connect as humans in ways that we can share excitement, share things that we're excited about. But my LinkedIn page is about my business. It is about me as a business person, about what makes me tick, about what I bring to the table, why I do what I do, and the people who recommend me and endorse me for my skills, they talk about the how I do why I do what I do. So it's two things going on at once. You don't get that on Facebook, and that's pretty much the best way to differentiate the two.
Okay, so business, you would really say Facebook is really just where you're socializing, fun stuff. When you get down to LinkedIn, it's more about business.
If you have a store and you work with consumers, you should be in both places.
In both places.
But for people who are B2B, business to business, it's LinkedIn.
So then how does it help the business professionals? How does LinkedIn help you grow? You know, and a lot of times people say, well, you know what, I threw my resume out there and I'm waiting.
Okay.
So how can they work on it where they can maximize the use out of it? How does it work for professionals?
Let's look at a resume. A resume is backward looking. And in my classes, I say that your resume would be the greatest outline for your obituary anywhere. Because it's all about what you used to do, what you are proud of doing. LinkedIn allows you to talk about who you are today based upon where you came from. Where's your experience from? How did you gain experience that makes you valuable who you are today? And a lot of people express what they want to do in their future on LinkedIn. So it's past leads to your present, present leads to your future. That's where a resume on LinkedIn is really selling yourself short. You want to get out of your own way. You want to express why you do what you do, where it is that you gain your excitement, what you bring to the table that's really unique. So if you are a job seeker, or if you just want to go out there and show people in the business world what value you bring, talk about yourself in a way that people are going to hear you speaking to them as if what I'm saying to you right now is put into words.
Okay.
Intonation, colorful words, power verbs, all these wonderful things that people are just reticent to do. And please, on your LinkedIn page, speak in sentences. Use that wonderful pronoun I. No bullet points allowed, because that's resume stuff.
Okay.
There's a big difference.
There's a huge difference. So I have to then ask you this question. How has LinkedIn worked for you professionally? How much, we're out there to get business out of it. We're out there to network. How much has this helped further your professional career?
The more you put quality material on a consistent basis on LinkedIn, the more people gather around you. They refer your writing to somebody else. Here, Bob, here's a great article that this guy named Marc Halpert wrote. I think you'll find it interesting. Bob says, this guy's writing some pretty good stuff. I think I'll follow him. He might approach me and say, let's connect. Now, what I do is I say, let's meet first so we can vet each other and get to know each other a little. And then if I like what I'm hearing and seeing, and I find some future orientation in the way we can work together, I will connect. And then we're in touch with each other. Every time I put something up on LinkedIn, Bob, who is my new buddy, is going to see what I put up, and it becomes part of the entourage that I grow around me. So you have to keep pinging on the radar, because you will be forgotten if you just use LinkedIn once a week, once a month, once a year. I have lots of people who haven't put anything on LinkedIn for 2 years, and they say to me, I'm not getting anything from it.
I wonder.
Well, yeah.
I wonder.
Hello. So, it's like advertising or like marketing. The better your brand is portrayed in many ways to people that can understand the brand at different levels, because everybody has a different takeaway, different touch point, but it has to be consistent and routine. And this is part of what you do as a business person.
So really you have to be on it almost every day to make sure you stay fresh and you're up to date with everything, or at least 3 times a week?
I would say it's easy to be daily, because we're reading material daily
all the time
that we should be sharing with people, because we are all part of each other's personal learning network. I learn from you, you learn from me, we share it with our 2 individual networks, and we're able to touch people in a very important way.
Absolutely.
That's part of this pay it forward thing that social media is built on. I will give more than I expect to receive, but when I receive it, it comes to me in buckets. And so I have built my business, well, all my businesses, because I have 3, around LinkedIn.
Wow.
And I will routinely go out and find new business that way, or new business finds me.
Wow.
So when I'm making a phone call to somebody, at the end of the phone call, I'll say, this has been a really interesting conversation. I've really enjoyed getting to know you. Right after this, I'm going to reach out to you and connect with you on LinkedIn. And unscientifically, if I'm pitching somebody on some business, what I found is the faster they come back to me and accept my LinkedIn connection request, the better my chances of getting business.
Okay.
So be in the moment.
You got to be in the moment. So if you need to learn and know about LinkedIn, you need a trainer, you know who to go to now. So I have to ask you this then. We see a lot of politicians now are on LinkedIn. We've seen how Hillary Clinton has taken the change, has gone into LinkedIn, how Trump has gone into LinkedIn, Bernie Sanders, all these candidates, presidential candidates that were in the field, how they were using LinkedIn. And even corporate companies now, all the conglomerate giants are all on LinkedIn. So we're going to take a short break, but after the break, when we come back, I want to talk about how this has become a game changer for the politicians and these big companies.
Good.
So stay tuned, we'll take a short break and be right back. Welcome back. Today we're talking about LinkedIn, how it has changed our world professionally, and how people are now becoming more and more active users on LinkedIn to go further in their life. With that, we have our guest today with us. We were talking with earlier, Marc Halpert, who's a trainer and an evangelist of LinkedIn. So Marc, before the break, we were talking about how the political candidates are using LinkedIn to further their campaign. We talk about Hillary, we can talk about Bernie Sanders, Trump, all these candidates. How did they use LinkedIn to further themselves, and why LinkedIn?
This is one of my favorite topics,
Yes,
so thank
I
you for
know.
raising it. Every single presidential candidate who threw his or her hat into the ring, I looked them up on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Many of them were senators whose LinkedIn profile was left over from their earlier Senate race. So some were as old as 8 years old.
Oh, wow.
Had not been touched.
Okay.
Now they're all gone, as we know. They did not win. There's a lot of reasons why they
There's
didn't
a
win.
reason
I won't
for
say
it.
it was
Yes.
LinkedIn, but nonetheless, they were boring, they were flat, they were uninteresting, they couldn't rally business professionals. Now, business professionals not only vote with their minds, they vote with their hearts and their wallets.
Yes.
And business professionals are a huge constituency for both parties. This is a forum where every political candidate, certainly national political candidate, can speak directly to 433 million people around the world, of which 128 to 130 million are in the United States. In the flick of one mouse button. You put it out there, it goes.
Yes.
So, Donald Trump, visibly absent.
Wow.
Never been on LinkedIn. I wouldn't dare ask him why not. You may sense some skepticism on my part, but nonetheless, for the businessman of the world,
You would
not
think.
there. Zero.
Yeah, you would think, there's so many business professionals on LinkedIn. Would he not want to use that platform? I do use the word professional here.
And I would be professional as well. I would think
Donald.
that he doesn't need connections and looks at this as a nuisance and an annoyance.
Oh,
Attitude.
okay.
Conversely, Hillary Clinton, absolutely brilliant use of social media. Now, admittedly, Hillary's not writing this.
Of course.
Her people are.
Yes.
But I
even
would
then.
think the social media pundits that she has in her campaign are of equal capability as the other candidate,
Sure.
and they're not using it.
Yeah.
So Hillary is writing beautiful posts. These are long-form opinion pieces. She just had one just recently about the massacre in Orlando, about how that could be thought to divide us, but she would rather see us united. And it was expertly written, not because I think she is the only one writing on LinkedIn, but I think if you look at the quality and the passion and what she writes about, it is perfectly dovetailed into what a campaigner should be doing in speaking to the business community.
Okay.
Bernie Sanders, not quite there. Didn't do a lot.
Yeah.
So there's people in LinkedIn Corporation who are trying to entice political candidates to use LinkedIn more because it is a wonderful platform for commentary and pieces like I was talking about that Hillary did. But there still seems to be this reluctance. So Hillary, running with it, running with the ball, and off she goes, and everyone she writes, she's talking to a lot of people.
I'm sure she's also raising a lot of money. You know, the donors, a lot of these big companies that are on LinkedIn, a lot of big companies are now on LinkedIn. So that might be a great way also to reach out to your donors directly.
Probably not a direct correlation, but nonetheless, every touch point helps.
Absolutely.
Every time you can write something that compels somebody, it might sway their vote, they might be independent and of two minds, that might help. Big corporations see LinkedIn as a tremendous opportunity, not only to market themselves to the business community in a different way than their website, as an alternative or separate way of speaking to their website, but also to post jobs and to post comments from existing employees about how much they love working at that company, to advertise and market their services and their products independently in what's called company profile showcase pages.
Okay.
There are so many, many, many things that they can do. And there's a lot of data mining going on in LinkedIn where you can do social sales navigation. There's many, many different ways to gain information on not only your clients, your potential customers, but on your competition.
So when we talk about, then if you talk about gaining now, how we can gain through LinkedIn, this new merger that has happened with Microsoft, okay, a friendly merger where Microsoft is taking over LinkedIn, though LinkedIn will stay independent. How does that now help us in going forward? How is that going to help the users make the most of it with all the tools that Microsoft's going to bring to the table?
You have an hour. I could talk about this forever. So here's the point.
You're the expert who'll sum it up for us.
I will sum it up. Here's the point. LinkedIn, admittedly, is counterintuitive to use. It's hard to use. And that's where, of course, it makes my job more fun to help people roadmap their way through where they have to go. Unfortunately, they don't make it easy to do things that you need to do on LinkedIn. So there's a lot of steps involved. The acquisition by Microsoft, every time they come out with a new operating system, has further perfected the use of icons and symbols to do in a couple of flicks of your mouse the things that you need to do. So I have a feeling that there's going to be some visual as well as some transformational changes made to LinkedIn. If you look at what Microsoft did to Skype, they poured a lot of money and took what was basically a unusable platform, and they've made it exceedingly stable.
It is.
This instability of it is why people hated it. The new stability of it is why people are really coming back to it. So I think that we'll probably see some investment of brain power and cash into LinkedIn as a product and to expand it. Where I think everybody is going to benefit, myself included, as well as you and everybody listening, is that LinkedIn is going to be merged into the Microsoft suite of products. So how cool would this be? I want to meet with you and 3 of your colleagues, and I want to go onto my Outlook and look at your Outlook and see where we have time that we can meet, offer through a Skype message that I'd like to meet with you. You respond back to me. We set the date. We do a Skype call. I show you my PowerPoint slides. You give me commentary and feedback, and we've never left the 4 walls of Microsoft because LinkedIn is keeping us all together. Everybody we're talking to is using LinkedIn as the common conduit.
Wow.
That's where I see this goes.
Okay.
So people are opening LinkedIn and they're leaving it in the background of their screen. And then they're going on the Microsoft suite of products. And I think what it's going to do is it's going to keep us from having to flip back and forth from screen to screen. It's all going to be right on our top screen.
Right there.
And it's going to be easy to use, and it's going to be integrated, and it's not going to be difficult to make us do what we need to do efficiently and effectively.
And how user-friendly is it going to be to use this on your phones? Because all of us are on the go all the time. So I know the way LinkedIn looks right now on a desktop, the way it looks on a handheld, on the phone, it looks very different. So do you think, are there any talks about making this interface a little more user-friendly for the phones?
Well, I certainly hope so, because my biggest criticism has been that the smartphone apps that LinkedIn has provided, what used to be one giant app, and they hived it off, broke it into various pieces, still does not operate and give you the same functionality as your desktop version of LinkedIn. And that's a real shame, and no one's really been able to explain to me why they can't do it on just a smaller screen. But I think what Microsoft has done, and I use the Office 365 products, and they do a really good job. There's almost all the functionality I need on PowerPoint. I can do a whole PowerPoint presentation, create a PowerPoint presentation and show it right off of my iPad. I don't need to go back to my office to do this. So there's many, many things that Microsoft has seen clear that I don't think LinkedIn has yet. And most of business and most of new, younger business is all being done on mobile. And we recognize that, and we all have to adapt to that. Even mobile is not your choice. But why make it difficult to do it? Make it more efficient for us to want to use it.
So if you have any say in it, do put your 2 cents in and let Microsoft know to please make this user-friendly for the phone. So when you do get to do your blog next time, you can mention that.
I will.
Just a suggestion.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's my blog post for tomorrow.
There you go. So, talking about how it's growing, I know India has become, I think, if I'm not wrong, the 2nd biggest user of LinkedIn. That's a huge amount. What they have come from for past couple of years, if you see the graph of where LinkedIn users were a couple of years ago to where they are now, the number is absolutely amazing. It's astounding how these numbers are going up. So when we talk about mobile users, in India, most of the people, instead of using desktop, more people have cell phones than have computers. It's cheaper to buy a cell phone than it is to buy a computer. So a lot of them are doing everything just off their cell phone. So all the more reason to have it on that. But tell me about this information that came out, and you had also done an article on it. I read about the blog on it, where India is becoming such a big LinkedIn user. how that's changing a lot of things in India.
Well, I don't think most people would guess that India is the second largest national country that is using LinkedIn.
I was shocked.
If you were shocked, everyone should be shocked.
Well, I was shocked when I saw that, and I was like, oh, wow. I was like, this is news to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Most people would think the UK or Canada or someplace like that. No, it's really not. They're probably distant third and fourth. India really has blown LinkedIn away, so much that they just opened a brand new office in Bangalore, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes.
and it's probably a state-of-the-art office. Probably got the best of the best out of the market. And the data center that they've just created in Singapore is designed, it's the first data center outside of the United States, by the way, is designed to capture the needs of the Asian population. So India's number of people using LinkedIn is like the numbers when you add Brazil and China together.
Yeah.
The numbers are huge.
It is.
And the smartphone apps are, if you're using them now and you're surviving on them, you will just love them, hopefully, when Microsoft gets its hands on making those changes. I think what's really fascinating is that most of us in the United States don't see a lot of what's going on LinkedIn overseas. And when I put that map up of the world and how various countries use it, I had a lot of people express to me real surprise, not just India, but how small use of LinkedIn is in certain pockets of the world. North Europe does not embrace LinkedIn.
And you wouldn't think that.
Latin America, with the exception of Brazil, has not embraced LinkedIn. And these are burgeoning economies, and they're doing well in an economic upturn. Certainly Latin America is just, and I have a lot of friends down there from my old past life, and they're just telling me, we just don't use it down here. Well, I think that's going to change. I think this Microsoft deal is going to not only bring people who haven't in the major countries used LinkedIn on a regular basis, but it's also going to instill more use in the minor countries. And I think we're just going to see this, upturn of the use of LinkedIn.
Okay, I know we're almost running out of time, but before we go, I do want you to give me your thoughts, what you would want our viewers to take away about LinkedIn.
All right, there's two things, and I'll be really brief.
Okay.
One is, if you've been using LinkedIn, keep using it.
Okay.
There are a lot of people who say, well, let's see what Microsoft does, and then I'll come back to it. Don't do that.
Okay.
Because then you're not pinging on the radar screen. You're going to fall off the screen, and no one's going to remember you. So you're going to lose business that way. That's the first thing. Keep the course.
Okay.
The second thing is, a few years ago, there was a data breach at LinkedIn, and a lot of passwords were compromised. And most people were contacted, and they changed their passwords. Well, I think what we found last week is that there's news that there are a lot more people whose data was compromised. So everyone, change your password on LinkedIn. Make it a combination of capital letters, lowercase letters, numbers, and symbols. Find a phrase you like I live at 245 Fairfax Drive. That's where I lived many, many, many years ago. And use that, the first letter of each of the words in that sentence. Use the numbers, use the capital F for the name of the Fairfax Drive, and use an exclamation point at the end, and then you have accomplished a very strong password. And add to that, because they still can break that password, do what's called two-step verification. And that's on your LinkedIn in the settings. You can find it if you look for it. And it says that every time you sign on to LinkedIn, LinkedIn will send you a text to your mobile device with a 6-digit code, which you have to put into your LinkedIn screen to correlate that it's really you who asked to open it. And all of us are doing this on our bank accounts right now. Think of LinkedIn as a financial asset, because that's where your brand is located, and it's worth a value. It's an asset to you, and protect that asset like you would protect your bank account.
Great.
There you go.
Thank you so much for that, Mark. And thank you so much for being here with us and sharing this information with all our viewers about LinkedIn.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. With that, I want to thank all our viewers today for watching this, taking your time out and learning with us what LinkedIn is all about and what this big merger means for all of us. We thank you all. If you like it, please do go to our Facebook page, see or share there, like us on Facebook page, give us your comments and your thoughts. We want to hear from you how we can tell you more about LinkedIn if you would like to, connect you with Mark as well. But at the same time, we want to have a dialogue with you to understand how this show has benefited you. And of course, go ahead and give us your comments on YouTube as well. With that, I thank you all for watching our show today. Good evening and good night.